Tonight on First at 9, this Friday the 11th of October 2024. Stage is set. Acceptance of nominations for parliamentary election concludes. 690 nominations accepted. Opting out. Several prominent politicians withdraw from general election. Signs of recovery. Sri Lanka's banks are becoming more sound, but non-performing loans are rising in smaller banks, reports the central bank. Inclement weather. Heavy rainfall to persist until the 14th of October, predicts the Met Department. Inclement weather affects over 1,000 people across the island.
ඔබේ විශ්වාසය දෙනු සෙන්සුරයින් දැන් ළඟම ඇති ෆාමසියෙන් ලබාගත හැක.
වැඩිම මනාපෙන් ජනතා තේරීම මෙවරත්.
සුදේශී ඔරිජිනල් කුහුඹම තමයි.
Crunchy goodness for hunger on the go.
From Derana, this is Derana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to Sri Lanka's premier primetime English news bulletin, Derana First at 9. I am Tarindu Mahendra, joining you live with the latest in Sri Lanka and from around the world. I read your top story making headlines tonight. Acceptance of nominations for the 2024 general election concluded at 12 noon today. Out of 764 submitted nominations, 690 were accepted while 74 were rejected.
Sri Lanka decides 2024.
With the deadline for submitting nominations for the 2024 parliamentary election expiring at 12 noon today, the acceptance of nominations was conducted throughout the morning at the district election offices of the 22 electoral districts. Accordingly, the National People's Power submitted nominations for a number of districts, including Colombo.
ශක්තිමත් සියලුම පැතිවලින් හොඳ නියෝජනයක් දෙන්න පුළුවන් ශක්තිමත් කණ්ඩායමක් අපි කොළඹ දිස්ත්‍රික්කයෙන් මේ ඉදිරිපත් කරා.
ජනාධිපති ජයග්‍රහණයෙන් පස්සේ අපි දේශපාලන සංස්කෘතිය වෙනස් කරන්න පටන් ගත්තා. ඉතින් මේ තරඟයේ දැනටමත් අපි ජයග්‍රහණය කරලා ඉවරයි. මොකද බොහෝ ප්‍රධානයයි කියාගත් විරුද්ධ පක්ෂයේ අපේක්ෂකයෝ මේ වතිවරණ ඉදිරිපත් වෙන්නේ නැහැ.
ජාතික ජනබලවේගයට පාර්ලිමේන්තුව තුළ බහුතරය ගන්නවා කියන කාරණය පිළිබඳව දැන් කිසිදු ගැටලුවක් නැහැ. ඒ නිසා අපි කැට තියලා කියනවා 125කට වඩා මන්ත්‍රී දුර ප්‍රමාණයක් අපි ගන්නවා.
The Samagi Jana Balawege also submitted nominations in several districts.
විශ්වාස කරනවා මේ රටේ ජනතාව සජිත් ප්‍රේමදාස මැතිතුමාගේ නායකත්වයේ තියෙන සමගි ජන බලවේගයට පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ ශක්තිමත් කණ්ඩායමක් ඉදිරිපත් කරන්න ඒ ආශිර්වාදය සිදු කරයි කියලා.
සමගි ජන බලවේගයේ අපේ ලයිස්තුව බැලුවම මේකේ හොඳ පරිණත අත්දැකීම් තියෙන හොඳ කණ්ඩායමක් අපි සූදානම් රට ඉස්සරහට ගෙනියන්නට කටයුතු කරා.
Meanwhile, several Janabalaya submitted nominations in several districts.
ඉතින් අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා විශිෂ්ට ජයග්‍රහණයකට ලංකාවම මෙහෙවන ගමන් නම් පහත් මෙහෙවන. අපි හිතනවා නම් පහ දිස්ත්‍රික් ජනතාව තීරණයක් ගනීවි මේ රටට අවශ්‍ය ඒ එඩිතර විපක්ෂ නිර්මාණය කර ගනිමින් මේ ලංකාවේ දේශපාලන දිශානතිය නිවැරදි කර ගන්නට එකතු වෙන්න.
ආණ්ඩුව. ජනතාවට දුන්න පොරොන්දු තියෙනවා අපිට 300 ගාන. අපිට තියෙන ප්‍රබල විපක්ෂයක් විදියට මේ ටික කරව ගන්න. අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම ප්‍රබලම විපක්ෂය වෙන්නේ අපි. ඒක ස්ථීරයි සර්ව ජන බලය.
පක්ෂවලට නායකයෝ නැහැ. සියලුම දේශපාලන පක්ෂ අද කැඩිලා විනාශ වෙලා තියෙනවා. මේ මැතිවරණයෙන් පසුව අනාගතයක් තියෙන එකම පක්ෂයේ සර්ව ජන බලය පක්ෂයේ පමණයි.
The New Democratic Front, which will contest the general election under the symbol gas cylinder, also submitted nominations for a number of districts.
වසර දෙක හමාරක් රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මැතිතුමා මේ රට ගොඩ නැගුවා. ඒවා පිළිබඳ ඉදිරි ගමන පිළිබඳ පාර්ලිමේන්තුව තුළ හඬක් නගන්න අවශ්‍ය කටයුතු කළා.
අලුත් ජනාධිපතිවරයෙකුත් පත් වෙලා අපි දකිනවා එදා දුන්න පොරොන්දු තාමත් ඉටු වෙලා නැහැ. ඒ නිසා මේ මහ මැතිවරණේ මම හිතනවා ජනතාව හරි තීන්දුවක් ගන්නයි කියලා.
පැහැදිලිම විශ්වාසයි මාලිමාවට ඡන්දේ නොදුන්න විශාල පිරිසක් ඉන්නවා. ඒ පිරිසත් මේකේ ඡන්ද දෙනවා.
පාර්ලිමේන්තුවට තාමත් ප්‍රබල විපක්ෂයක් අවශ්‍ය වෙනවා මේ වෙලාවේ. ජනතාව මම හිතන ශක්තිමත් විපක්ෂයක් මේ පාර පාර්ලිමේන්තුව තුළ නිර්මාණය කරයි.
අධික බලය අධික විනාශයකට මුල පුරයි කියලා නිසා මම හිතන්නේ අධික බලයක් කාටවත් යන්න හොඳ නැහැ. ආණ්ඩුවක් තියෙනවා වගේම ශක්තිමත් විපක්ෂයක් තියෙන්නත් ඕනේ.
Meanwhile, former Minister Jeevan Thondaman, who is contesting from the Nuwara district, representing the United National Party under the symbol elephant, submitted his nomination papers. The Sri Lanka Podu Jana Peramuna also submitted nominations for several districts.
Horizon Campus 2024 Intake 2. Register now.
චන්දුරුසුනේ කාගෙත් බලා අපේ සිංහ TV සඳහා සුපිරි ඩීල්.
Welcome to Cinnamon Life, South Asia's biggest entertainment hub, where awe awaits.
කාගෙත් ප්‍රියතම මෙලිබන් බිස්කට් දැන් 30ක් සීනි අඩුවෙන්. රස දන්න කාටත්
හරිෂෝ.
Meanwhile, the political parties and alliances contesting for the parliamentary poll submitted their respective national lists to the Election Commission.
The 29-member national list of the Samagi Jana Balawege consists of former MPs Ranjit Maddum Bandara, Imitias Bakir Makar, Dallas Alaha Peruma, Sujeeva Senasinghe, Professor G.L. Peris and Sudarshani Fernando Pulle. The other members of the national list include Sagaran Vijayendran, Nisam Karyappar, Upul Jayasuriya, Mahim Mendis, Upul Bandara Disanayaka, Rohana Lakshman Piyadasa, Lihini Fernando and Ravindra Samaravira. Further, Atula Siri Samarakon, Kennedy Digalla Gunawardena, Lalit Prasanna Pereira, Vishaka Kamali Surya Bandara, General Mahesh Sena Nayaka and Ravi Jayawardena are also members of the SJB national list. The SJB national list also comprises Tisat Deva Priya Bandara Vijay Gunawardena, Lankeshwara Mitrapala, Palani Velu Parameshwaran, Balakrishnan Sivanesan, Ganapati Naguleshwaran, Chandima Vijay Gunawardena, Muhammad Hashim Muhammad Rumi, Muhammadu Ismail Muttu Muhammadu and Indika Bandara Nayaka. Meanwhile, the 29-member national list of the National People's Power includes former MP Bimal Ratnayaka, Professor Vasanta Subasinghe, Dr. Aruna Karunatilaka, Professor Upali Pannilage, Eranga Udesh Veeraratna, retired Major General Aruna Jayasekara, Dr. Harshana Surya Peruma and Janita Ruwan Kodituakku. Punya Shri Kumara Jayakudi, Ramalingan K. Chandrasekhar, Dr. Najit Indika, Olympic athlete Sugat Tilakaratna, Lakmali Hemachandra, Sunil Kumar Gamage, Gamin Ratnayaka, and Professor Ruwan Chaminda Ranasinghe also represent the NPP national list. Further, the list includes Sugat Vasanta De Silva, Kirti Valisarge, Chamila Kumudu Pires, Abdul Fatah Muhammad Ikram, Ranjan Jayalal Pereira, Muhammad Nasir Ikram, Martin Nelson, Ramesh Mohandimel, and Benita Prishanti Hettitantri. Pubudunuwan Samaravira, Sarat Lal Pereira, Anura Hettigoda Gamage, and Hematilaka Gamage are also members of the national list of the National People's Power. In the meantime, the 29-member national list of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna includes former MPs Namal Rajapaksa, Gamin Lokke, C.B. Ratnayaka, Professor Tissa Vitarana, Jayantha Katagoda, Sagara Kariyawasam, and Tissa Kuttiyarachchi. The list includes Venerable Utturavala Dhammaratana Thera, Venerable Tebuwana Piyananda Thera, Muhammad Fadil Marjan Asmi, Renuka Pereira, Bimal Giganage, W. Dayaratna, Anusha Damayanti, and Jagat Vellavatta. Vasanta Handapangoda, Viraj Pereira, Atula Priyadarshana De Silva, Manjula Vellalage, Ravihara Kulatunga, Damit Hettiheva, Ranjit Bandara, Vidura Pereira, and Pasan Kasturi Fernando are also members of the SLPP national list. Sarat Kirtiratna, Sudat Rohana, Mahinda Patirana, Ratna Dharma Priyadaya Patirana, and Samanthi Indika also represent the SLPP national list. Meanwhile, the 29-member national list of the New Democratic Front include former Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena, former Speaker of Parliament Mahindayapa Abeyewardena, former MPs Faiza Mustafa, Tirana Alas, Dr. Suren Raghavan, Ravi Karunanayaka, Thalatha Athukorala, Veerakumara Dissanayaka, and Muhammad Musammil. Shamila Pereira, Jayantha Veerasinghe, Sendil Thondaman, Ronald Chitranjan Pereira, Kanishka Suranimal Rajapaksa, Muhammad Mustafa Anwar, Nisanka Nanayakkara, and Sagal Abevikrama are also members of the NDF national list. The list also includes Siripala Amarasinghe, Veerakumara Dissanayaka, Rashdan Rahman, Nimalka Fernando, Damayanti Jayasekara, Newton Piris, Leslie Devendra, Mahinda Senrat Bandara, and Adam Bawa Uttuma Lebbe. Vellalage Bandula, Sirima Siri Hapuarachi, Pumi Senrat Samaratunga, and Kirti Sri Veerasinghe are also members of the NDF national list. The 29-member national list of the Sarvajana Balaya meanwhile includes Dr. Hemakumara Nanayakkara, Dr. G. Veerasinghe, Ranchan Senviratna, Gamini Valeboda, Rohan Fernando, Nalaka Pereira, A.P. Kanapati Pillai, Marshal of the Air Force Roshan Gunatilaka, Professor P.B. Migaswatta, and Samira Somaratna. Professor Tudor Veerasinghe, Professor Emeritus Don Nanda Siri Veerasinghe, Major General Jagat Kodituaku, Dr. Varuna Chandrakirti, Ruwan Bandar Rukam Tilakaratna, Dhammika Ratmale, and Ranuka Sampath Marasinghe also represent the Sarvajana Balaya national list. The list also includes Shehan Ambepitiya, Surya Bandara Dissanayaka, Hassan Alaldeen, Tilena Piris, Bhupati Kahatuduha, Nilendra Deshapriya, Priyanta Pradeep Kumar Mapalagama, and Danidu Vitanawasam. Prasanna Amaratunga, Danendra Sampath Ranasinghe, Puddika Ekanayaka, and Ruwani Damayanti Tissera are also included in the Sarvajana Balaya national list.
Meanwhile, several former parliamentarians, including ministers and state ministers of the previous government, announced their decision to not contest the general election. This includes former presidents Ranil Wickremesinghe, Maithripala Sirisena, and Mahinda Rajapaksa. Several former parliamentarians and former presidents have announced that they will not contest the upcoming parliamentary election. Former President Ranil Wickremesinghe, who represented Parliament for 47 years, will not contest the upcoming general election. This will be the first time he will not represent Parliament since 1977. Former Presidents Mahinda Rajapaksa and Maithripala Sirisena also announced that they will not contest the upcoming general election. Meanwhile, former Minister of Housing and Urban Development Prasanna Ranatunga announced that he will not contest the upcoming general election. Former State Minister of Technology Kanaka Herath, former State Minister of Plantation Industries Lohan Ratwatte, former State Minister of Women and Child Affairs Geeta Kumarasinghe have also withdrawn from the parliamentary election. Former parliamentarians C.V. Vigneswaran and Jayantha Samaravira also announced that they will not contest the parliamentary election. Field Marshal Sarath Fonseca also announced that he will not contest the election. Former parliamentarians of Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna Chamal Rajapaksa, Vimalavira Dissanayaka, Janaka Bandara Tennakon, W.D.J. Senaviratna and S.P. Dissanayaka have also announced their withdrawal from the upcoming general election. Vasudeva Nanayakkara and Govinda Kumaratunga, who previously entered parliament under Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna and later became independent parliamentarians have also announced that they will not contest the upcoming general election. Former Governor of the Southern Province Lakshman Yapabewardena also announced that he will not contest the upcoming general election. Assistant Leader of the United National Party Akila Viraj Kariwasam, who represented Parliament in 2019, announced that he will not contest the upcoming general election.
Sri Lanka decides 2024.
Now, over 1,000 people belonging to 298 families across the island are affected by the prevailing inclement weather. Taking the severe weather into consideration, the National Building Research Organisation issued early landslide warnings to 9 districts. Meanwhile, the Department of Meteorology expects the prevailing heavy rainfall to continue for the next few days.
Heavy rainfall persisted in several parts of the island, including in Colombo and its suburbs. The highest rainfall of the past 24 hours of 276 millimeters was recorded from Hanwalla. Davisavela Colombo Main Road is inundated from the Aswatha Junction to the Hingurala Junction. Meanwhile, traffic on the Atiyantota Bulatkopitia road was disrupted due to heavy rainfall in the region. Meanwhile, a 39-year-old attempting to cross a bridge which was under construction over the Vahilanda Canal in Kaduela had fallen into the canal last night and has been missing since. Efforts are underway to locate the missing individual. Meanwhile, Pillavatta, Damingamur and several other areas belonging to the Millenia Divisional Secretariat Division remain inundated owing to heavy rainfall in the area in the last 2 days. An individual who was traversing the flooded areas was reportedly swept away by the waters of Haltota. The remains of the missing individual were recovered by residents of the area and he was identified as a 42-year-old. The Haltota area of the Panadura Anguruwatota main road is also inundated, disrupting traffic along the road. The Disaster Management Unit of the Millenia Divisional Secretariat Division took measures to rescue individuals trapped in their residences due to flooding and relocate them to safe places. Further, the Road Development Authority was prompted to temporarily close the Valipan interchange of the Southern Expressway for traffic due to a minor flood. The Irrigation Department, meanwhile, warned of potential risks of flooding in the next 48 hours due to heavy rainfall received in the Athanagalu Reservoir. Accordingly, residents of areas in the vicinity of the Athanagalu and Uruwal reservoirs belonging to the Divisional Secretariat Divisions of Dewlapitia, Mirigama, Athanagalla, Mahara, Gampaha, Minuwankoda, Jayala, Katana and Battala are urged to remain on alert.
අතනගලුවේ ඩ්‍රෝනිය ගඟ ආසන්න පහත් බිම් ඉක්මනින් ජල ගැලුම් තත්ත්වයකට පත්වීමේ අවදානම පවතිනවා. ඒ වගේම කැලණි ගඟ දෙපස පහත් බිම් වල යම් මට්ටමක ගං වතුර තත්ත්වයක් ඇතිවීමේ අවදානම පවතිනවා. කළු ගඟේ ඇතැම් ප්‍රදේශ මේ වන විටත් යම් මට්ටමක ජල ගැලුම් තත්ත්වයකට පත් වී තිබෙනවා. ඒ වගේම ගින්ගම් පහත් බිම් ප්‍රදේශවල පදිංචි ජනතාව දැඩි අවධානයකින් පසුවීම වැදගත්.
Taking the prevailing adverse weather into consideration, the National Building Research Organisation issued early landslide warnings to areas in 9 districts across the island. The early landslide warnings are to be in effect until 4 p.m. tomorrow.
Warning level 2 alert amber warning was issued to Sitawa and Padukka Division Secretary Division Colombo District, Neluwa, Baddegama, Nagoda and LPTA Division Secretary Division Gold District, Athanagalla Division Secretary Division Gampaha District, Orana, Walallavita, Dodangoda, Palindanumara, Agalawatta, Bulasinhala, Ingiriya and Matugama Division Secretary Division Kaltara District, Mavanella, Aranayaka, Kegol, Varakapola, Ruanella, Bulatkopitia, Deyovita and Yatiantota, Divisional Secretary Kegol District, Ahaliagoda, Kiriyalla, Ayagama, Kalavana, Ratnapura, Kuruvita and Elapata, Divisional Secretary Division Ratnapura District. Warning level 1 watch, yellow warning was issued to Alla, Hariala and Passara, Divisional Secretary Division Badula District, Yakalamula, Niagama, Divisional Secretary Division Gold District, Berula, Divisional Secretary Division Kaltura District, Galigamu, Divisional Secretary Division Kegol District, Naramala, Polgahavila and Alava, Divisional Secretary Division Purnaya District, Abukamu Korle, Division Secretary in Norelli District, Kahavatta, Opanayaka, Palmadula and Divitigala Division Secretary Divisions in Ratnapura District.
Meanwhile, according to the latest situation report of the Disaster Management Centre, 1,107 persons belonging to 298 families are affected by the prevailing inclement weather. In the meantime, the Department of Meteorology expects the prevailing heavy rainfall to continue for the next few days.
මේ වර්ෂාපතනය අඩු වැඩි වෙමින් 14 වෙනි දින දක්වාම පවතින ලකුණු තමයි අපේ විශ්ලේෂණ වලට දැනට පෙන්වුම් කරන්නේ.
A delegation of the World Food Programme called on the Secretary to the President, Dr. Nandika Sanatkumar Nayaka, and expressed their willingness to continue the organisation's ongoing programmes in Sri Lanka. Meanwhile, in a separate update, President Anura Kumara Dissanayake has issued directives to Finance Ministry to provide a 3,000 rupee allowance to pensioners starting next week.
A delegation from the United Nations World Food Programme called on the Secretary to the President, Dr. Nandika Sanatkumar Nayaka, at the Presidential Secretariat this morning. The President's office reported that WFP representatives agreed to continue the organisation's ongoing programmes in Sri Lanka. Although the food crisis in Sri Lanka has eased to some extent, the WFP officials expressed their willingness to extend further support through new programmes whenever additional needs arise. The delegation comprised WFP Country Director for Sri Lanka, Abdul Rahim Siddiqui, Deputy Country Director Gerard Robello, and Government Partnerships Officer Mustafa Nimat. In the meantime, President Anura Kumara Dissanayake has instructed officials of the Ministry of Finance to take necessary action to provide a monthly interim allowance of 3,000 rupees to all pensioners commencing next week. Following a review of the delay in adding the 3,000 rupee allowance to the pension for the month of October, the President directed relevant officials to credit this amount to pensioners' accounts within the next week. The directives were issued during a meeting with senior officials of the Ministry of Finance at the Presidential Secretariat yesterday. Thereby, an additional allowance of 3,000 rupees will be provided to pensioners each month starting next week.
Meanwhile, Prime Minister Dr. Harini Amarasuriya received an official visit from the Thai ambassador to Sri Lanka. While expressing gratitude for the Thai government's support in rescuing 28 Sri Lankan nationals who were detained in cybercrime camps in Miyawadi, Myanmar, the Premier requested continued support for the government's efforts in repatriating the Sri Lankans still being detained in the region.
Thai ambassador to Sri Lanka, Paitun Mahapanappan, called on Prime Minister Dr. Harini Amarasuriya yesterday at the Prime Minister's office in Colombo. During discussions, Prime Minister Dr. Amarasuriya expressed her gratitude for the assistance provided by the Thai government in rescuing 28 Sri Lankan nationals who were detained in cybercrime camps in Mayawadi, Myanmar. She went on to request continued support to rescue the remaining 40 Sri Lankan nationals detained in cyber camps in Myanmar. Meanwhile, Thai ambassador to Sri Lanka, Paitun Mahapanappan, congratulated Prime Minister Dr. Amarasuriya on her appointment. The Thai ambassador further commended the Prime Minister on strengthening bilateral relations between Sri Lanka and Thailand. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister's office reported that discussions focused on the development of the tourism industry, usage of modern agricultural technology, joint research of post-harvest technology and food processing by the faculties of agriculture of the universities of Ruhuna and Coimbatore.
Fast track your career from O-levels with eSoft.
කාගෙත් ප්‍රියතම මෙලිබන් බිස්කට් දැන් 30ක් සීනි අඩුවෙන් රස දන්න කාටත්
හරිෂෝ
දරුවන් ගැන ඒ තරම්ම හිතන නිසයි ලංකාවේ අම්මලා විශ්වාසයෙන් මෙලිබන් කිරිම දෙන්නේ.
Welcome back. Now, the central bank says that Sri Lanka's financial system stability was maintained during the first half of 2024 amidst challenging macro-financial conditions. The financial regulator noted these observations in its latest report, Financial Stability Review for the year 2024.
Releasing the Financial Stability Review for the year 2024, the Central Bank of Sri Lanka stated that the financial system stability was maintained during the first half of this year amid spillovers from the challenging macro-financial conditions experienced during the recent past. The country's monetary regulator highlighted that the overall stabilization and gradual improvement of domestic macro-financial conditions eased the pressure on balance sheets of households and institutions to some extent and thereby lessened the risks faced by the financial sector. The CBSL noted that the downward trend in financial intermediation subsided and showed signs of stabilization as credit growth entered positive territory, albeit lagging behind the pace of deposit growth. Further, the decline in market interest rates with the accommodative monetary policy stance, along with falling inflation and lower risk premia, which resulted in a partial correction of interest rate anomalies, supported the gradual uptick in credit. The Financial Stability Review highlighted that, along with the improvement in macro-financial conditions, financial markets operated with improved stability during the period under review. Accordingly, financial market stress remained broadly at lower levels, particularly from the end of 2023, with some volatility during the early part of the second quarter of 2024. CBSL noted that resilience of financial institutions gradually improved during the first half of 2024 amidst easy macroeconomic conditions, as reflected by key financial soundness indicators of the banking sector, such as credit quality, liquidity, and capital adequacy. However, the non-performing loans ratio remained elevated, highlighting continued challenges, while the provision coverage ratio improved. Amid declining market interest rates and the gradual uptick in domestic demand, the CBSL stated that credit growth of the banking sector witnessed a resurgence, particularly in terms of the private sector, while the dependence of state-owned enterprises declined mainly due to the central government absorbing certain credit facilities of a major state-owned enterprise. Going forward, the central bank stated that it will diligently monitor systemic risks and promptly implement appropriate and macroprudential and microprudential policy measures to address any emerging risks to ensure continued financial stability. The CBSL is of the view that the financial system is expected to perform better with envisaged improvements in asset quality and build-up of capital buffers while prudently managing risks as the economy further stabilizes and advances amidst continuing challenges. Although the unprecedented gravity of the crisis created deep macro-financial imbalances within the economy, the central bank highlighted that these imbalances are gradually correcting with prudent policy measures and reforms along with behavioral responses, thereby supporting financial system stability. Hence, while the progress of the financial sector thus far while managing the spillovers from the economic crisis has been commendable, it needs to be continuously strived towards assuring financial stability in the medium to long term. The central bank is also of the view that further readjustment of imbalances in the external sector and the fiscal sector, particularly due to suppressed import demand and delaying of meeting selected sovereign debt obligations, may also need to be cautiously handled to ensure the stability of the financial system. Nevertheless, the finalization of external debt restructuring would pave the way for accessing further financial resources from the external sector, albeit in a prudent manner.
The Colombo Bourse closed more than 1% higher today, aided by gains in energy and IT stocks. The all-share price index climbed 1.07% to end at 12,294.03 points. Trading volume on the SPI rose to 81.3 million shares from 61.1 million in the previous session. The S&P SL20 meanwhile climbed 0.10% to settle at 3,640.65 points. Market turnover rose to 2.3 billion rupees from 1.59 billion in the previous session. The banking sector was the top contributor to market turnover, followed by the capital goods sector. Foreign investors were net buyers, purchasing stocks worth 292.2 million rupees, while domestic investors were net sellers, offloading shares worth 2.12 billion rupees. And with that, we wrap up tonight's edition of First at 9. Thank you for joining and have a good night.